Hello, friends, Romans, and countrymen. Okay, so today we're doing lesson 27, and our aim is how do we divide decimal dividends by two-digit divisors, estimating quotients, reasoning about the placement of the decimal point, and making connections to a written method. So it's basically how do we divide using decimals and the dividend. So let's get started. All right. Really quickly, let's go through this together. This is just a review. 1 and 2 tenths divided by 6, 2 tenths. 1 and 2 tenths divided by 60, 2 hundredths. 8 and 4 tenths divided by 4, 2 and 1 tenth. 8 and 4 tenths divided by 40, 21 hundredths. 6 divided by 3, 2. 6 divided by 60, 1 tenth. 32 hundredths divided by 4, 8 hundredths, and 32 hundredths divided by 40 is 8 thousandths. Okay, that was a quick review. Should have been able to do that with me. Okay, so here is our first word problem. Michael has 567 pennies, George has 464, and Jamie has 661. If the pennies are shared equally by the three boys and 33 of their classmates, how much money will each classmate receive? Express your final answer in dollars. So first let's talk about this. 3 boys and 33 of their classmates is what you're using as the divisor, not just 33. I agree with you that that language is confusing because it says each classmate, but they're throwing these 3 boys into the classmates. Okay? So you have a choice. You could do this in two ways. The dividend can be expressed or represented by pennies or dollars and pennies. It's your choice. But the first thing you need to do is add up the total number of pennies. So go ahead and do that. Okay, so you added up all the numbers. You should have gotten 1,692, and that represents the total number of pennies. So I'm going to do this right now as pennies, okay? I'm not going to change it into dollars for the moment. So my first thing I'm going to do is sort of estimate here, 36 and 169. I'd round this to 40 probably, and I would round 169 to 160 because I know that 4 times 4 is 16. So 40 would go into 164 times. So I'm going to use that. So I multiply this and I get 144. Then I subtract and I get 5 and a 2. I bring down my 2 and I get, I'm going to divide and I'm going to go with 7. 7 times 36 is 252 and I have no remainder. So I have to write my final answer in dollars. So I have 47 pennies. So I need to write it in dollars. So that would be 47 hundredths, right? Because there's 100 pennies in a dollar. All right, so if we decided to write this right here as dollars, where would I put a decimal point? Well, how would you read 1,692 pennies and as dollars? Well, it would be $16.92. So if we used dollars right here, we would have brought our decimal point directly above, and we would have had 47 cents that way. Okay? So it's not too difficult. All right, so if you did it as pennies, you would have to convert it to dollars. If you did it as dollars, you would just move your decimal point up. Okay, here we have our next problem in concept development. So we have in the 77-kilometer relay race, each of the 22 team members runs an equal distance. How many kilometers does each team member run? So what are we looking for? There's 22 people. They run 77 kilometers each. So our estimate Okay, so we're going to look at the 22, and we would estimate that to 20, which makes sense. And then here is where you would kind of have to think about it. So we want 60 or 80 because we need an even number, like an even first unit for the 2 to go into. So 7's not going to work. So do we want to use 6 or 8? Well, here, this is directly from the Engage New York program. They used 60. So that's fine. We could go with that. And then how many tenths would they use? So you have 77 as your whole number. So you would change the 100 tenths divided by the 20 into 5 tenths. And the reason they went with the 60 here is because if you think about it, 20 and 80 wouldn't work because that's automatically more than 77. So that's why you would go lower. Okay, so does that make sense? So then they simply do the division over here. So they use the 3 that they estimated, and then they multiplied 3 times 22. They got 66. They subtract, they got 11. They brought down the 0. Then they used their 5 from the estimate. 5 times 22 is 110, and so that works. So over here it says, how will you show the 0 tenths in the whole number? In the whole, rather. So it basically becomes a decimal, and it becomes 5 tenths. Okay, moving on. So here is another one for you to do. Do it on your own and then come back to me, all right? Okay, so here's what I did. Automatically, I put my decimal point up here. That's the first thing I did. Then I estimated 21. I got 20. 14 and 7 tenths. I look at it as a whole number without the decimal point to make my estimate. And I decided to use 140 because that will work evenly. 140 divided by 20 equals 7. So I'm going to use 7. 7 times 1 is 7. And 7 times 2 is 14. And that worked out very nicely and very quickly. So there, we're working with milliliters. So there is 7 tenths of a milliliter in each container. Okay, you got that? So will it be more than 1 or less than 1? Well, is 7 tenths more than 1 or less than 1? Exactly, it is less than 1. Good for you. Okay, here we go. Next one. The surface area of a rectangular piece of construction paper is 140 and 25 hundredths of square inches. If the paper's length is 17 inches, what is the width? And then you need to solve it. So you go right ahead and do that, and when you come back, I'll have the work done for you and you can check it. Okay, I didn't do all the work because I've decided to show you something interesting. So here's my estimate. I changed the 17 to a 20, and the 140 I just left itself. Okay, so 140 divided by 20 would give me 70, right? Alright, so I'm going to put my 7 up here because that's what I'm thinking, right? Divided by 20 equals 7. Okay, so I'm putting my 7 up here, and now let's multiply. 7 times 7 is 49. Carry a 4. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 4 is 11. And I subtract 10, 3, 1, 2. Okay, now I have a problem because I cannot have more here than here. So this has to go up one more. Does everybody see that? This is not allowed. If I have 21 here and my divisor is 17, that means I could go up 1 here. Okay? So this really would become, whoops, sorry. This really would become an 8 because I could stick another 17 into here. Okay, so let's do this again. So my 7 is too much. So I'm going to use 8. Okay, so let's try the 8. 8 times 7 is 56. Carry a 5. 8 times 1 is 8 plus 5 is 13. So I subtract 10, 3, 4. Okay, that's more like it. Hello everybody, what is the thing that I forgot? Yes, I did not move my decimal up here immediately. Ooh, bad me. Okay, so now I'm bringing down my 2. 42 divided by 17 would be 2, and 2 times 17 is 34. Subtract, and I get 8, and I bring down my 5. 17 divided by, 85 divided by 17 is 5. 5 times 17 is 85. And that's a nice, neat little package there. So the answer is the width is 8 75/100 squared inches. Ooh, that's terrible writing. So sorry. All right. Yes, our very friendly tape diagram. Woohoo! Okay, here we go. A craft club makes 95 identical paperweights to sell. They collect $230.85 from selling all the paperweights. If the profit the club collects on each paperweight is 2 times as much as the cost, what does it cost the club to make each paperweight? So we need to know this. That's what we need to know. So I set this up for you already. So our total is $230.85. Does everybody see that? We're breaking it up into 95 identical paperweights. So I do the 1, 2, ... means all the way to 95. Okay, we got that? So far, so good? All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to use our tape diagram to help us actually figure this out. And for this problem, tape diagramming is actually a really good idea. So our first thing we need to know is, what's our first division problem? Well, $230.85 total, they make 95. So let's do that first. All right, so you go ahead and do that while I do. Okay, so I did the division, and you can check your answer. $230.85 divided by 95 paperweights equals $2.43 each. That's what they collect. Great. Now we need to know the cost. Okay, so if we think about that, we think about these connected are $2.43. Do you get that? It's the profit and the cost. That's what they collect for each and every paperweight. So it's not telling us how much it cost, and it's not telling us how much profit they made. It's telling us all together they collect $2.43. What the problem is asking you is, how much does it cost? Okay, that's what they want to know. What is the cost? That's our big question mark here. So what would we do next? Well, if you look at the boxes, right, profit is 2 times the cost. So we have, yikes, that's ridiculous. So we have 1, 2, 3. 3 pieces of money are what's involved in this $2.43. Do you guys get that? So it's $2.43 divided by 3, right? Because it's 1, 2, 3 things that this $2.43 includes. It's the cost, and then 2 times the cost. Altogether, this plus this equals 1 paperweight. Okay, so let's do this division. You do it on your own, and then I'm going to do it to save time. Okay, so I did the division, and I got 81 cents is the cost. If I double that, I have $1.